In this video, we will write and solve equations from word problems using a step-by-step process. All right, so the steps, we have step 1 is to define our unknown. We have to know what variable we're solving for. We're going to use let statements to define that. Next, we're going to set up the equation and solve. So we're going to translate that word problem into math and then solve it. And then lastly, we're going to define our answer, give exactly what the problem is asking for. So as we do this, we're going to have several sets of problems. The first set is finding two numbers. So in this problem, we have the larger of two numbers is 4 more than the smaller number. If the sum of the numbers is 74, find the numbers. So we know we're solving for two numbers. And we have a relationship between the smaller number and the larger number. So we're going to let x equal the smaller number. And we know the larger of the two numbers is 4 more than that number. So the larger number is going to be represented by x plus 4. So we have these let statements that represent the expressions for our variables. We also know a relationship between these two numbers and their sum. The sum of these two numbers is 74. So we can set up the equation. The smaller number, x, plus the larger number, x plus 4, is equal to 74. Then we're able to solve for the variable to get x is equal to 35. The x represented our smaller number. So we still need to find our larger number. So our smaller number should be 35. And 35 plus 4 should be 39. Next is an on-your-own problem that is similar to the first. The next set of problems is perimeter. The length of a rectangle is 6 inches more than the width. If the perimeter of the rectangle is 24 inches, find its dimensions. So we have two variables here. We have the length and the width. We're going to let x equal the width, and we know the length is 6 more than its width. So the length is equal to x plus 6. Next, we have to think about what the perimeter would look like. Perimeter is adding all 4 sides of the rectangle. Right now, we only have 2 sides defined, but we know in a rectangle that opposite sides are congruent. So we have 2 sides that are x and 2 sides that have x plus 6 as their length. And so all of that together is equal to 24. We distribute and solve, and we get that x is 3. But remember, x represented the width, so we still need to solve for the length. The length will be the width plus 6. So my width is 3 inches and my length is 9 inches. Next is an on-your-own problem that is similar to the first. Next, we're going to talk about consecutive integers. What does consecutive mean? Consecutive means one after the other in order. So for example, consecutive numbers are like 5, 6, and 7. Which if we translate that into any consecutive numbers, we have our first number that's represented by x, our second number that's x plus 1, and our third number that's x plus 2. For consecutive even numbers, an example would be like 6, and then the next even number is 8, the next even number is 10. So we let the first consecutive even number represent x. And then how do we get 8? Well, we add 2 to our x. How do we get 10? We add 4 to our x. So to get 3 consecutive even integers, we use these 3 expressions. Consecutive odd integers work pretty much the same way, except we're starting with an odd number. 3, 5, and 7. We can let the first number be x. The second number is just 2 more than the last, and the third number is 4 more than the first number. Here, the sum of two consecutive integers is 123. Find the numbers. We're going to use the patterns that we defined previously. We're going to let x be the first number and x plus 1 be the second number. And we know when we add these two numbers together, we get 123. So x plus 1 equals 123. And then we're able to solve. So we know the first number is 61, and so the second number is 62. Here we're going to find two consecutive even numbers whose sum is 54. Remember the pattern for even consecutive numbers is let the first number be x, the second number be x plus 2. We know the sum of these two numbers is 54. Combine like terms and solve. We know our first consecutive number is 26. And so our second consecutive number is 28. The next is an on your own problem about three consecutive odd numbers whose sum is 57. Use the patterns that we defined for consecutive numbers.